he was either a couple months older than me or a couple months younger, and there was no indication that a PIP was coming. It was like
Did it feel
attitude
retaliatory?
related more than
Yeah.
than performance related, and it was just something that like I personally took it hard. And I was younger, and I overreacted in the moment. I'm like, this is bullshit, blah blah blah. Like I told him off, and he could have fired me right there if he wanted to.
Leading ain't easy, the show that cuts through the noise and gets real about leadership. I'm Ryan Calkins, Marine Corps veteran and founder of Reframe and Rise, and I'm here with my good friend and fellow leader, Erny Epley, founder of Bus Pro Network, as we unpack the highs, lows, and hard-earned lessons of what it actually takes to lead with character in today's world. It's not another highlight reel or fluffy leadership pep talk. We're talking about the stuff most people don't, the doubt, the pressure, the people problems, the pivots, and the personal growth that it demands. Because the truth is, leadership looks good on paper, but in real life, leading ain't easy.
Welcome back to Leading Ain't Easy. Today we wanted to talk about what it's like to be put on a performance improvement plan, on a PIP, and how a lot of people, sometimes you get put on a PIP and you feel like your career's over. So we want to talk about our experience with receiving and distributing.
Yeah. So for our second episode in the row, we have just a very positive topic.
Hey, we're positive guys.
Yeah. So I think when people think of PIPs, automatically it feels negative because there's a bit of a negative connotation to it, because I mean something's not going according to plan, right? And so I was just telling Ryan before we hit record on this episode is personally, I've never been put on a PIP. I have approached it. I don't, and I just want to be clear. The reason I haven't been put on a PIP is because most of the time it just went straight to firing or other such discipline. I don't want to sit here and act like I'm perfect. And I don't even know that the concept of a PIP was at any place of my employment until maybe 10, 11 years ago. And at that point I had been fired twice and had sort of been reformed through those firings. Actually, I've only been fired once, but I mean officially. Well, let's talk about the PIP. Why are we talking about me getting fired, Ryan? What are you getting me into today?
I don't know why we're talking about you getting fired. I'm about to fire you from the show.
Twice. There we go. You heard it here first here, folks.
No, I just the reason I was talking about, or at least chatting with Ernie about the PIP, is I have a friend that recently went through it was like 6 months of positive input on work, and she thought she was doing well, and then it came to her annual review where she hadn't really had any feedback in terms of performance, that there was any indication whatsoever that something was off. Then has her annual review, gets blasted with, we've received complaints here on work product, blah, 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 blah. Here's a performance improvement plan. And it was something that completely blindsided her. For me, it's like, I relate to it because I got put on a PIP when I was at Waste Management by the supervisor that I had before I became a route manager. Was this guy who, he was either a couple months older than me or a couple months younger, and there was no indication that a PIP was coming there either. But like I mentioned before, I was somebody that is vocal in trying to improve things and push back, and the PIP was more, I don't know, it was like,
did it feel
attitude
retaliatory?
related more than performance related, and it was just something that like I personally took it hard, and I was younger, and I I overreacted in the moment. I'm like, this is bullshit, blah blah blah. Like I told him off, and he could have fired me right there if he wanted to. But
did it feel like an act of retaliation for speaking up and for pushing back on things?
It kind of did, and it was like, I don't know how to explain it. It was just it felt personal. Like if I was put on a PIP for, performance to where I knew that there was an issue and I was failing to improve, and it was like, okay, well, we've talked about this multiple times. Here this is, we're going to get this corrected one way or another. Like you're either not going to be here or, the other thing. But I don't know. It's just it felt like such a personal pip that I did not react well to it. And I mean, I didn't stay on it for long. I mean, I got the things fixed that needed to be fixed, and it wasn't necessarily a bad thing. Like it I want to say I don't. It wasn't even eye opening. It was just it's like, okay, there's an issue here that hasn't been discussed. So it felt premature to have that pip that is now going to be in my permanent record. And that is like the issue that I had with it, on top of it feeling like an attack on my person rather than my profession. I don't know. Yeah, I struggled with it. And from that point, I always wanted to make sure that when I had to, go the pip route for others, that it was used as a tool for improvement rather than what felt like a personal attack or a step to get somebody out the door.
Yeah, it in the two examples you've given, it almost seems like, again, from a third person perspective, is that management failed to be proactive in their communication, in both in terms of what's expected of you, and the example you gave of this young lady who got hit out of nowhere. I went through some professional development about a year ago that really sort of revolutionized how I approach as a leader of a team, both improvement plans and in terms of progressive discipline, and even keeping open lines of communication. The proctor, or the person who was facilitating this professional development, said, if your team is surprised at the evaluation stage of anything that is less than positive, then you failed as a manager, in your communication skills need to
100%.
improve. And I always, up until that point, was like, oh, you know what, this isn't something that maybe warrants a documented conversation or progressive discipline, but it'll come up in the annual evaluation. and and I knew going into it, like, oh, this is something that happened 6 months ago, but I'm going to approach it, now that the annual eval is due. And I always like you said, I didn't realize that I was putting, as a leader, I was putting my team in this position to feel blindsided by this thing, in their mind. And in reality, this happened months ago, man. We're already past that. Why are you bringing it up now? And in my mind, I'm like, well, it's your annual evaluation, right? Getting my thinking turned around as a leader is being more proactive with communications, and also giving them the heads up. I'm now begun to practice that, if Ryan, I'm bringing you in my office today because yesterday you failed to show up on time, and this is a pattern. I don't have the record in front of me, but more than once I've observed you coming in 15, 20 minutes late, and that's causing a dip in service, right? Having that whole conversation up front, saying, I want to have a conversation with you off the record before it gets to a point where I have to issue official expectations, right? That's our sort of first step in our progressive discipline sort of mantra.
Why are you
Even though
talking to me about this? Because John Flanagan shows up late every day and you don't talk to him because he's your buddy, right?
Well, you're not privy to those conversations. They are happening.
Okay.
I am following up accordingly. However, and I'm not going to sit here and specify how I manage John Flanagan, because that's neither here nor there. I am following up on it, but I'm not going to give you details of that conversation. Just like I'm not going to go to John Flanagan and give him details of the conversation we're having today. Both of them are between you and I. Whether you want to go out and share is up to you, but today that's what we're talking about. So
Good job, Mr. Manager.
Thank you. Back on point is, we need you to show up on time. I don't want to escalate this any further. So if you could show up on time, that'd be fantastic. If not, I understand traffic, dog ate your homework, whatever excuse you want to throw in there. I understand these things happen. give me a heads up if you're going to be late. It's not okay to do it every day. Just because you're sending me a text every day now that you're going to be 15 minutes late, you still need to be on time. But if there's things that are circumstances out of your control, give me a heads up, right? And that's just the quick little like role play scenario with someone being late. However, even in that offline conversation, right? This doesn't get followed up in an email. This is just a complete one-on-one talk that we're having today. And if this continues, this will be documented either in the form of an expectations letter or on your evaluation form. So being completely upfront with them and being open with the employee at that first contact, that first, hey, something's wrong here, we got to address this. That's going to save you a lot of potentially situations like that you found yourself in, or that other your example that you gave earlier.
So you're in a union environment, so you obviously have what you can and can't do, and you have your progressive discipline steps. Is a PIP part of that progressive discipline that you just haven't reached yet, or is it not something that exists for you?
It exists. They don't call it a PIP. I'm forgetting.
Well, you've clearly never
forgetting
had
the
to
name
go
of
there
it.
because
No, and most of the time, and I want to be careful because I don't want to bring up examples that can that can cross the line of what
you don't
what I
have to
should and
speak on
shouldn't share.
specifics, but
Well, that's where my mind immediately goes, right? And so if I'm pausing, I'm trying to come up with a way to word it. So most of the time, and I have stats to prove this. I've shown this to our labor partners. When these conversations come up at our quarterly check-ins that we have with our union leadership at the different bargaining groups, because I have 2 bargaining groups that represent the employees that are on my team. And because these things do come up in those meetings, like, hey, this such discipline, where are we at with this sort of things, just to check in again those specifics. But I prepared a data driven spreadsheet that I kind of shared in the form of a what are those called? Slideshow. I'm forgetting the name. Sorry, I'm sitting
a PowerPoint.
PowerPoint. Thank you, Ryan.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I need you in my life, because sometimes I'll get going on things and my mind will just all of a sudden sit down on PowerPoint for whatever reason. But anyway, I'll put it up on a PowerPoint saying, hey, I'll just use 10. I'll use a base 10 system. Out of the 10 instances where we've had to have a documented conversation that was the beginning of progressive discipline, 85%, I think we were at 85% of the time, that works. The next step isn't, we don't get there. Yeah. And if we do, the percentages even go higher if we have an oral warning or an oral warning that is documented, or a written reprimand. Verbal. Right. Then the percentages even go higher. It's in the high 90s of that really fixed it. So a lot of times we don't get to PIPs. And sometimes I do have to throw this in there. There is the sort of oddball and a situation where the offense was so egregious that we just have to move straight to dismissal. And that, and so in my experience, the PIP has been sort of the unexplored middle ground. I've come close. I've actually put the PIP together, and then the employee either is no longer part of my team and transfers out, or they do something that accelerates right straight to dismissal.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. You talked before about how a PIP can carry a negative connotation.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't disagree, because I've seen it to where PIPs can be kind of weaponized in a way where it's like, you're frustrated with me, you can't fire me yet because you don't feel like you have justifiable reasoning. Well, I mean, you're in a union environment, so obviously everything is dictated for you. But outside of a union environment, a lot of times I've seen it weaponized in the sense that, yes, we're at will, so yes, you can get fired at any time, but you usually want to have some type of justification or backup for doing so, right? And a PIP can be a starting point to go down that path. like for me, like I said, it felt very, very personal, and I took it personally, and I lashed back in a way that could have accelerated me to termination. Luckily, it didn't, and I was there for several more years, and things were fine. But the person that I was talking about that was kind of blindsided in a different way, where it was attacking her performance when there was no mention of any type of negative performance at all leading up to that point. It was very tough on her, because talking to her, it was like kind of a hit to her confidence, but it was also, it's like, okay, now I have this thing where I'm going to be fired soon. And I'm like, well, you're not necessarily going to be fired soon, right? And it was kind of a back and forth, and trying to help her, not take it like, oh, the sky is falling, I better, jump ship and find something else. It's like, yes, you absolutely can, right? And if you no longer feel safe and comfortable in that work, find a different environment, and go succeed. But it doesn't have to be a negative. You can embrace, okay, this is what they're saying, blah 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 blah, and take it as, okay, leadership failed me because none of this was mentioned previously, right? And then just take what you can, like truly look at yourself. Did I give everything that I could have? Was I really struggling in these areas despite them not telling me? And do a real self-evaluation. And if it's true, like, no, everything listed here is complete BS, now I feel targeted, sure, go somewhere else and succeed. If there is any truth to it, be honest with yourself, and you know attack those points.
Yeah. So one thing that you mentioned that got my mind rolling here is whether or not you agree with the assessment of how you got here as an employee on the PIP. Um, the heart of the matter here is that the PIP's going to give you the tools to succeed. It should, if it's done right. Now, if it, I don't want to throw this out there as a blanket statement, because obviously
Right.
there's some in there that, that are unfounded. But if there truly is, and we use the example of being late, if you're truly late all the time, be honest with yourself. Get there 5 minutes earlier, right? And we're using that as a, and that might feel a little lame, but maybe your performance. Maybe you say, okay, I am doing the best I can in the 8 hours I'm here a day. If my performance is truly lacking, give me some professional development as an employee that's going to help me succeed, because I very much need this job. I want to be here. I need help to improve, and within the improvement plan should be the tools to succeed, right? If it's constructed properly, and you got at management that really is coming from an approach to improve the performance, instead of, this is a step I got to take in order to, get this guy to kick rocks. And
Well,
I get, go ahead, sorry.
no, I thought you
Well,
were
I was
done.
just going to go into some advice for the leaders in the room who are listening, in addition to, and give them some tools and things that have been successful for me as a leader. But if there was something that you wanted to throw in there before we move that way, we can.
No, I was just gonna share. So I've only had to give two pips in my career, and one was, it was like after repeated discussion on particular topics that I've told you before, like the way that I view management, and people not responding to feedback in areas for improvement, is there's either a capacity issue or a lack of care, right? And if it's a capacity thing, I try to avoid the progressive discipline. Like I'll talk about it, but I'll find something that is a better fit for that person so they can succeed, right? But if it's a lack of care, that's where I take issue with it, because it's like, you are capable, you can absolutely do this, and for whatever reason you're choosing not to. And I did have to do a PIP in that regard one time, because it became a formal piece of documentation, right? And it was more prescriptive in, these are the things that you have to do. Like, it's no longer me asking you and you not complying. It's like, you have to do this now. Like, you either comply and get on board, or
Yeah.
sayonara.
Yeah.
And the other one that I gave, it was, I think I talked about it before on a prior episode, but it was somebody that wasn't even my employee that was facing termination, and I volunteered to ownership to take her and get her on a PIP and help her, because I had seen the way that she was being managed by the supervisor that she was under and was set up for failure, right? And that one, it was just a tool that really helped her turn things around. And I think anytime somebody gets put on a PIP, there's some level of personalization, right? And you
Oh
take
yeah.
it to heart, because most people have a sense of pride in the work product that they do. So when that gets more or less shit on, it's like
Yeah.
it can feel like a personal attack. And that's what I was talking about, and being able to try and separate the emotion from it, which I obviously did not do when I received mine. But when I was able to take a step back and apply a different perspective to it, I guess I could say, okay, this area is something that I should work on. Like, the delivery of the PIP coming out of nowhere is the problem. And
Yeah.
for this person that I'm talking about that really turned things around, the PIP did more or less come out of nowhere because she wasn't expecting it. Like, she had felt like she was getting crapped on repeatedly by the person that she had. And it just, me being able to step in and say, you're going to work for me. Oh, by the way, here's this PIP. Like, the way that I had to present it was, I didn't present it, even if it felt for her like, oh, this is the first step towards being pushed out. I let her know, like, that's not the case. I mean, obviously anybody is going to have however they take things, but she was able to lean into it and really turn things around and became one of our
Yeah.
most reliable employees. And
Yeah,
she
I
ended
love
up
to hear
leaving
that.
like a year and a half later and didn't tell me when she put in her 2-week notice. And I was like, dude, really? And she's like, I didn't want
Yeah.
you to be mad at me. I'm like, I'm not going to be mad at you. Like, you're succeeding. I'm
Yeah.
happy for you. Just
Right.
let me know, damn it. I thought we built something here.
Yeah. Man, I love hearing that. And to build on the points you made there, I think it becomes incumbent upon management and leaders to lead with empathy, especially in this area. For one, what's been successful for me is really softening that blow. And it's not to say that, oh, I'm soft. This is you can do better, bud, and just that's the conversation. No, like, what I mean by softening the blow is really communicating upfront that, listen, this conversation today, this progressive discipline, this PIP, whatever, wherever you're at with that is in the process, but it's incumbent upon leadership to say, to really truly not only say but also mean it. Like, this, I'm not trying to get rid of you. I need you. I need you to be successful. This company needs you. This district needs you. And to be successful, I need you to perform up to here, right? The standard. And to do that, I really want you to succeed. This is not a tool or a mechanism for me to try and get rid of you. That's not what I'm doing today. I really want for you to be successful, and I want us to improve our service. And because we're a team, and I'm in the position where I need to help you do that. Now, that's a soft approach. And no matter if you use the words around change your tone, flexion, it's going to be taken negatively, like we talked about earlier. And they're going to hear you lazy POS, this, that, and the other. Because that's how I internalize it, and that's how I hear. Even if people are saying that, I'm going to hear, oh man, I screwed up, or whatever. It's going to be negative, right?
Mhm.
So even acknowledge that. Say, look, I know what this is. This is not fun. This is potentially embarrassing for you, or they're going to tell you how they feel, right? And then kind of take that and say, look, you told me this is how you feel, and because I think it's because you're hearing me say those words and make you feel that way. That is not how I want you to know, or excuse me, that's not how I see you. I see you as someone who just needs a little help, right? And really take the time to be caring, to show empathy, to show, like, what is it that I can do to help you succeed? How can I help you? Here's what I have. And that's where you introduce the PIP, right? Like, these are tools where I think you're going to be successful. Now, you tell me if this is going to work for you, right? Because ultimately, like, you need them to work for you, right? And then to me, that's how I like. If you don't think showing up on time is going to help you succeed, right? If you don't think checking your emails more than once a week is going to help you succeed, I would love to hear another alternative, Ryan. Right? Of course, I'm not being that flippant and that sarcastic in the meeting, but sometimes most of the time for me in my world, it is that simple, right? It is because if you start, I don't want to get into that complication, but leading with empathy, right? Softening the blow and really not only saying it because that's a box you're supposed to check, right? But really meaning it. I'm here to help you improve. I do not like the discipline approach. I like the educate approach, right? And this is what this is. I need this out of you. This is what I'm getting. This is why it's not okay. This is the roadmap to get there. Again, from a high level perspective, and then and doing it from a place of genuine care.
Well, right. So, I mean, because the whole point of the PIP is that it's a current state that you're trying to address. It's not about how high somebody can go. So it's really a tool to help somebody reach their potential that you see in them, right? Like if somebody's a lost cause, then what's the point of a PIP if you know that they're going to fail? That's when it becomes more of a weaponized thing, when you give them unrealistic expectations
Right.
that you know they aren't going to hit, and it's a tool out the door. Like you want people to strive and push for more, so you kind of have a little bit of stretch goals. But before you make your comment, when you said
what you just said, go ahead.
I was thinking about my son. So when you said like, tell me if this is something that you think will help you or whatever, and I'm thinking like he's gonna be like, nope, it's not. And then like, oh, okay, well, I guess I won't give it to you then.
So I wanted to build on that point and sort of give a tip. Also, you had said, these are the expectations now, and maybe even through personal experience or otherwise in your coaching, you've come across where the expectations were just unrealistic. As a leader, don't set those expectations on your own. Have a conversation where the expectations are mutually agreed upon, so it's kind of a tactical move to where they can't say, well, this is unrealistic, right? No, we agreed upon this, and this is what you said you could do. Now, if you at any point during the PIP in our check-ins, if those need to be adjusted, I want you to know as an employee, Ryan, we can adjust those, right? But for right now, this is what they are until our next meeting, and then we'll kind of reassess. Also, another kind of tip that's helped me is after the initial conversation, because that's going to be the hardest piece, is the, hey, you screwed up. If tensions and emotions are high, you could always break that up, right? And say, hey, listen, why don't we just leave things here for today, right? We'll come back to this maybe tomorrow. I want you, in the meantime, not think about what you've done. That's the wrong thing to say. I want you to think about how I can help you improve, right? Give them some kind of onus to communicate to you what they need. And maybe we come back to this PIP on another day, maybe a day or two later. And then we can discuss it whenever emotions aren't so high. And of course, we're not saying that in the meeting. That's the tactical move, right?
Yeah. I mean, I was just thinking about my own experience, and if I had been more mature in that moment, I would have, tried to separate the emotion from it and just listened objectively, and really tried to, I guess, seek clarity on what the expectations were, because it wasn't, I don't know, like it was fleshed out, but it was also vague enough to where there weren't real measurables. So it was like, oh, you need to improve this. You need to improve this. It's like, okay, well, to what level? What am I? Yeah. What will
what's the
get me
metric?
off this pit? It's like, oh, well, when you feel that I've achieved it, like we'll move on. So if I'd say if you're ever on the receiving end of one, try to approach it objectively. Yes, it's a hit to your ego and your pride, but try to use it as a tool that isn't forcing you out, but something that you can really take with you and seek clarity and the expectations, and focus on what you can control. Don't get bent out of shape about what you can't. And for people that are issuing PIPs, if you're in that position where you find yourself, think about how it would feel for you on the receiving end of it and try to be as clear and concise about the expectations and what you need in terms of improvement. And like Ernie said, you want to set your goals in line in alignment with the person to work together, but you also kind of have your baseline measure of, okay, well, I can't allow the expected change to be beyond this point. So like you have your base that you can't go below, but work with them to see what they can or what they think is accomplishable, because you want them to hit certain targets and say, okay, I'm doing the things I need to do and have that success. So when you pull the pip, it's like, okay, we're back on the track. We're good to go.
Yeah, I think with where things start to sort of break down as far as my colleagues are concerned, other leaders in other industries and other institutions, is one bit of feedback and one bit of conversation I have with, or I've had and been part of with other folks who are in non-union environments, is it's almost like they feel sorry for me, right? When I tell them, oh yeah, we work in a union environment, and they're like, oh, that means you can't get rid of anybody that sucks. You can't fire anybody. And all the all the stereotypical responses. But for me, I've only ever been in a union environment, but it makes me, I'm more comfortable. I think I tapped my mic. Sorry. I'm more comfortable here because there's very clear cut parameters for the most part, right? I've always said in a union environment, there's the contract. That's our Bible. Both of us are beholden to that, both the employee and the employer. And everything else that can't be stipulated in that contract, which is never going to be the case in that, because you'd have just volumes and volumes and volumes of contract, right? Language. But it's a good starting point. And from there, we're going to negotiate on how we can, don't use that word negotiate, because that can get you in trouble if you're not part of the negotiation teams. We're going to talk about how we meet that goal, right, as a team. I'm not afraid of those parameters, because for me, they're like, they're fence lines, they're guidelines that for both of us, right? And where a PIP comes into play is that both your job description, and maybe I'm getting a little too technical, but your job description, your contract, your policy, the law, all that, it provides so much framework where we can use as a base objectively. If I'm being unfair, where I'm coming from is is holding you accountable, because don't want to use the word enforce, holding you accountable to this letter of the law, or this letter of the CBA, right? Or this is the policy right here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna try and give or put myself in a place where they're arguing with me. I want them to see and argue with data, with law, with policy, right? And then so how, like I said, how a PIP comes into play, that is going to be reflective. The PIP, whether it's expectations or whether it's violations or whatever, the PIP's gonna be based in that, in as much as possible. I understand that this is much more nuanced than that, but if you start as that as your base,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're on solid footing as a leader.
No, I agree. And I think that, like, the PIP, a PIP is not the end of your career either. Like, you can come back
For
from a
sure.
PIP, just
Yeah.
like you can come back from being fired. You've been
Yeah.
there, I've been there. Like, you bounce back and you continue. I think any long career has some level of hardship in it, to where you
Yeah.
do receive critical feedback, or worse, or you get terminated, or you have a PIP, or you have a write up. And I think the way that you come back from those points in time that hit, it really helps to shape you as a leader, right? Because it's you grow in those times of adversity, right? Like
Oh, yeah.
it's a
Yep.
lot about resilience, and how you're able to adapt and rise above those low points.
Yeah, I agree, in as so much as long as you are taking accountability,
True,
right?
true.
I've run across this so much, where I mean, there's example after example of people that come to mind where, I mean, John Flanagan, we're gonna use that name. John is a technical expert.
Mm-hmm.
He is so good at what he does when he's focused, right? But he misses 50 days a year, and there's always an excuse. Doctor's notes aren't hard to get, and I hate to sound like flippant about it, but they're not hard to get. I can go get one right now and say my back hurts and be out for a week, right? I have a really, really hard time processing the thought process behind those individuals who just refuse to take accountability. And I know I'm getting straight off topic a little bit, but
Think
I
so?
want to. Yeah, I think you're right.
Well, I mean, I think that's what separates leadership potential is
Hmm.
your own measure of accountability also, right? So
Exactly. And so how a PIP works into this is by taking that accountability, is by saying, you know what, to some degree, I might not agree with everything in here, but boy, he's right there. I really
Mm-hmm.
should check my emails more than once a week. And I'm just using a bland example because that's the one that bugs me the most.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you can tell. But you know, it's maddening because I know at least half a dozen individuals right now that are up here, names and
Mm-hmm.
faces, that, boy, you could really be something in this industry, in the industry that I'm in. I know you can, because your potential to grow is huge, but you can't. You just keep. You're making yourself your own worst enemy. You can't get out of your own way. I was talking to another colleague of mine where this topic came up, and they were talking about, someone on their team, and I just saw, yep, I know that person. I don't know the person, right? I don't know them
Mm-hmm.
from a box of paint, but I know them because they've been part of my team, right? And I don't know. I feel like I'm repeating myself at this point, but don't be that person. Take accountability for this. That is going to you. It, the pit might feel like a step backwards, and it probably is. But if you could take that step backwards and really, really decide whether that's going to be a growth opportunity or not, right? Or um, to take accountability and then take 3 steps forward, right? That,
yeah,
like you alluded to earlier, all of our careers, hell, all of our lives, it's just a series of peaks and valleys, man. And what you do at that valley is really going to determine how high your next peak is going to be.
that's a,
Was that
that's very
profound, Ryan? Did
insightful.
I?
Yeah,
I think I just had an out of body experience when I said
I think you did. We should put that in a fortune cookie.
that. It's
You,
just life advice, man. That's the best I can give based on my experience. The To further expound on that, it effing sucks, dude, to be in the valleys. And you've known me long enough to see me when I'm in mine. But hold up a mirror and really take note, like, how did I get here? What the hell happened? It was going so good, know? And then really look at a critical look at, yeah, if I'm being honest with myself, I stumbled here. I'm not going to do that again. Right. And taking that account, holding yourself to that level of accountability.
no, I agree. I think so you mentioned a growth opportunity, and I think if you are, if you find yourself on a PIP right now, or in the future, whenever you find yourself on one, just think about what story you're telling yourself, and is it a growth opportunity, like you said, or is it a sign to pivot and look elsewhere, or am I just not a fit for what this culture is or has become? And like you said, be honest with yourself and do a real evaluation of your current standing and what's best for you in that moment. I mean, don't be, you know, quick to pull the trigger and say, "Oh, I better quit before they can fire me," because the economy right now is probably not one you want to be jobless in. But just think objectively and strategically about what it means, like you said, to come out of that valley and where you want to be at your next peak.
And in sort of wrapping up, I do want to mention that I feel confident where I'm at in my career because of the resilience that we just talked to, those valleys, those peaks and valleys. I'm only sharing this to hopefully inspire and hopefully somebody out there who might not feel like very confident because they're in the middle of a pip or because they're in one of those low times. Man, I say it all the time, is like, man, you know how many times I've done started over? You don't scare me, or you know what I mean? Because I didn't come up with that on my own. I think I heard a rapper say it. But it is true, man. Like this builds resilience. The pip that you're going through, the valley that you're going through, this hard time you're going through. Embrace the suck, man, and really begin to know, like, this. I'm building muscle. I'm building resilience, and the confidence that is the child of that attitude, or that is the outcome of that. You could really know that this confidence doesn't come because I have a spotless record. This confidence doesn't come from me never being put on a pip, or you know what I mean? Because like, I don't have a spotless record. I've been fired, and I'm about to get fired from the show, evidently.
You should get that on a bumper sticker. Embrace the suck.
No, I think it already is. I didn't make that up. I've seen it somewhere.
Is that a saying?
I think so. I don't know.
Yeah, well,
it has to, dude. I'm not very original.
I know what to get you for Christmas now.
I don't do bumper stickers. That screams poor.
Oh, I'll get you a hoodie.
That's a joke. That's another joke.
There was something I wanted to say.
I'm sorry. Did I?
No, I did, because I made the stupid bumper sticker fucking joke.
I like how in some of our minds, like, we have well, this is going to be a banger point, and then all of a sudden, dumb joke just cuts the line, and we make the dumb joke, and then point's gone. I do that all the time. Ask my secretary.
Also, if you've never been personally on a pip, you may be in a situation where you have to put somebody else on a pip. And the best piece of advice that I can give for you is just imagine it's you receiving it and how you would want to receive it. For those of you that have been on one, you obviously know what it felt like and you can relate. I think if you haven't been on one, just try to imagine what it would be like on the receiving end of a pip. And I think the best way to lead up to a pip is, as we talked about earlier in the show, make sure that somebody isn't caught by surprise. Like, have constant feedback on performance that is going well. Have, constant feedback on things that aren't doing so well. So it's the worst thing that you want is somebody to be caught off guard by something that they had no idea was an issue.
So, to the listener, if you are a leader, if you are an employee, or if you find yourself either issuing a pip or have issued a pip or in the middle of a performance improvement plan as an employee, and you have any questions, feel free to hit us up. I can't promise that we'll have all the right answers, but we will have a response, and
we'll definitely have some answers.
Yeah. You might not like them either. Like, what's funny is I've invited feedback in other arenas, not just this podcast, and sometimes the feedback I get is, "Hey, I'm in this situation." And once they lay it all out, it's "Am I the a-hole?" The Reddit thread that is basically, "Am I the asshole?" Yeah, you know what I mean? And it's one of those moments where I'm like, bro, it sounds like if I was your boss, I'd be doing the same damn thing they're doing to you.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you want to wrap up?
Yeah. So until next week, leading ain't easy.
But you don't have to do it alone.
Thanks for tuning in to Leading Ain't Easy. If something in today's episode resonated, please do us a favor and share it with someone else who leads or aspires to lead. Because honestly, none of us have this figured out, but we can all get better together. If you're a leader or professional feeling quietly stuck in your career, visit reframerise.com. It's a career and leadership coaching firm where I work with veterans and other high achievers to realign their work and lead with purpose. Again, that's reframerise.com. And if you're looking for leadership tools, training, or support for your transportation department, check out Bus Pro Network. where Erny helps school transportation leaders across California build safer, stronger teams. Please subscribe wherever you listen, leave a review, and let us know what topics you'd like us to tackle in the future. And remember, leading ain't easy, but you don't have to do it alone.